Welcome to the Lost Boys to Found Fathers podcast. I'm Gabe O'Sullivan, and joining me is my buddy and co-host Will Haycox. We are men who have suffered the loss of a child, and through this production we desire to offer encouragement, strength, and hope to our fellow brothers who have traveled the same journey. Welcome, Will.
What's up, Gabe?
So we have been deep in the woods for 21 episodes. Obviously, definitely a heavy topic of what we're trying to discuss and go through. But one thing that we have found through our time of going through these difficulties in the past was that sometimes, man, it was good to be refreshed, right? And just to take a step back out of the situation, detach, and maybe even laugh. And so I'm not saying that we're going to make anybody laugh today, but hopefully just having a little bit of a step back from the heaviness of our conversation will be refreshing. I know my wife and I, when we were going through the birth and unfortunate loss of our triplet daughters, we were in the hospital. She still hadn't been discharged yet. It was a day or two after their birth. And we had some friends come in one evening, and I don't know what we were talking about or what they were talking about, but they had been to some kind of event, and they came in and were just trying to encourage us. And man, they got to telling us some funny stories, and like we were laughing, and like, you know, when they left, we were in the midst of this heavy time because we got 3 girls in the NICU. Well, 2 girls, I think. One had unfortunately had already passed away at this time. So we've already suffered unfortunately went through the premature birth. They're in the NICU. They're just under 2 pounds. Already lost 1 and got 2 in there fighting for their life. And, we were just heavy-hearted, right? Heavy, everything's heavy. And to have them come in and share that time of laughter with us was so encouraging and uplifting, and kind of gave us a bit of a break, right, from the heaviness of the situation. So we thought today we would spend a few minutes trying to break the heaviness of our situation as well, and of what we've been talking about. So that being said, we're going to get into some favorites, all right? So we're going to start by asking you, Will, what is your favorite movie of all time?
When you said that, I kind of had to think for a minute because, because Hannah and I watch a lot of Netflix, like, series, but we don't watch a whole lot of movies. But I think probably my favorite movie, hopefully it's all of your favorite movie because it's the best movie, is Gladiator. And I love it. Russell Crowe
he said the best movie. There wasn't even a question
the
there.
Best
okay.
Movie. It's Gladiator because it's cool. It's got Russell Crowe in it. He's great. He's got that super deep gravitas in his voice. And it's like, I'm a history major, so it's Roman history. I mean, it's not real history, but it's the Gladiator. I wish it was real history. And dude's name is awesome, Maximus Decimus Meridius. And so it's like, I don't know, it's cool. It's like, it's kind of sad at the end, but it's also kind of happy because it's like he's reunited with his family. Sorry if you haven't seen this, it's been out like 20 years now, so it's your fault.
You haven't seen it, it's your fault. That's right. Yeah.
So, it's a great movie, and I generally just like things that have happy endings because, like, my wife talks about, like, we'll watch a Netflix series and it finishes and I'm like, I really hated that. Like, I didn't like that. And I didn't think it was very good. And she's like, it was really good. It just didn't have a happy ending, and you like happy endings. And like, yeah, there's life's serious enough. I like my movies to end with the hero winning or the family being reunited or whatever it is. So yeah, that's kind of where I am.
I like it. That's a good one, man. Yeah, one of my buddies has the poster, the movie poster for the Gladiator, like in his office,
really,
at his work. Yeah, so I think about that. It's a great movie. And so this will just show everyone the difference in the emotional intelligence of Will versus me. Okay, because my favorite movie of all time is Goonies.
Right.
So, nothing to do with Roman history and like this amazing story of redemption, like whatever. Yeah, man, that's the Goonies, dude.
Funny.
That is my favorite movie of all time. I remember I saw it in the theaters when it came out in 1985, and I have seen it. At least 100 times, probably more. I mean, man, since then, I can quote the entire movie as it goes along. Like I don't miss a beat. And so what I'm saying is I have spent way too much time watching TV, and that's why my brain is not working as good as Will's. That's why he comes up with all this amazing content, and I'm just like throwing in a few every now and then. So why is that? I guess it was right in the middle. Like, I was the same age as those dudes in that movie, right? And I had a group of buddies that I rolled through Raintree neighborhood with, and we would, get into stuff in the woods and whatever. And so I could just see, like, us being those guys, and I just loved it, man. The whole thing about pirate treasure and, like going on this adventure and, running from booby traps. Booby traps. That's what I said. Booby traps. And so, yeah, man, Goonies, that's my favorite movie of all time.
That's great. What about sports? You got any favorite sports franchises?
So I would say yes, absolutely. So my favorite this team is Clemson, like sports team. Like I grew up going to Clemson games, and still my favorite like sports team collegiately. Professionally, definitely the pre-Dennis Rodman Chicago Bulls. Back in the day, pre-Dennis Rodman, like those teams too. They were great.
I hope he's not listening.
I love Dennis Rodman. He's crazy, greatest rebuilder, one of the greatest defenders of all time. But man, that was like just a circus show, man, when he came to town. But I grew up a Clemson fan, like I said, and so I was a big Horace Grant fan. Like when I was a kid, like Horace Grant was my hero, man. So he played power forward at Clemson. So when I'm starting to watch sports on TV, Horace Grant was at Clemson having a great career, and I love that guy. Like I picked number 54 when I was a kid playing basketball because I wanted to be Horace Grant. Well, he ended up getting drafted by the Chicago Bulls, so I started watching the Bulls because of Horace Grant, not because of Michael Jordan.
Doesn't hurt that Michael Jordan's on the team, right?
That worked out very well for me because now nobody believed me that I was a Bulls fan because of Horace Grant, but I literally didn't know who Jordan was because I was just a Grant fan.
That's funny.
And obviously it worked out pretty well for me. And this was early days of cable television. WGN was the Chicago cable station that ran the Bulls games, and so man, growing up as a kid, getting to watch the Bulls play, man, there was nothing like it, dude. Cool. It was the greatest show in town. So now I've got my kids, like, we'll ask Alexa to play the Chicago Bulls intro music. And I'll do, like, and now, head guard from North Carolina, 6'6", and so they'll run out with their basketball. Except now, these kids, man, these days, I don't know what I'm going to do with them. My little one, Tyson, he doesn't want me to say Michael Jordan. He wants me to say LeBron James because he just saw the second Space Jam movie, and I'm like, bro, I'm not gonna say you're LeBron James if we're listening to Chicago Bulls music. Yeah, you're gonna be Michael Jordan, and you're gonna like it. So how about you?
Teach those kids. Yeah, I'm a current NBA fan, but still, LeBron's good, but he's not Michael Jordan. I'm a Clemson fan too. I grew up watching pretty much Clemson football. I've always been football's been my sport. I really didn't care much for basketball growing up. Didn't really know anybody that played much. Really never cared for baseball. Always thought it was boring. But kind of as I got older, I guess in college, I was up late one night and I watched a rerun of an Oklahoma City Thunder game, and that was like 2011, and Kevin Durant scored like 55 points or something and was just putting on a show, and I was like, I'm going to have to watch this. And so I ended up watching every available game at that point. And if you know anything about the NBA, that's kind of when the Thunder were rising up to be a power in the league. And I think the next year is 2012. We went to the finals, and so it was like, hey, we're on the edge of something. We're going to win 10 championships here. And then if you know the sad history of the Thunder, it's 13, 14, 15 were all like injury-plagued seasons. I think 15 or 16 is a season that Thunder fans call the Plagues of Egypt season. So, it's been a rough road there, and now we're in the midst of like a full rebuild. But, I've been a Thunder fan, and again, if you know anything about the NBA, Durant left in 16, so now he's a snake. Then Russell Westbrook stuck around for a few years, and Westbrook, doing what's best for him and doing what's best for the franchise, got traded. And then we got Paul George, and he's traded, and Carmelo, and that was interesting. And he's gone. So now we have like a few guys on the team that nobody knows unless you're a hardcore fan, and 1 million draft picks. So that's cool. I'm excited about that, but it's going to be an interesting next few years to figure out what our team looks like. Hopefully we can flash back to like the 11, 12 years where the Thunder are trying to go to the finals and win some championships here soon. But we'll see.
Here's what I think you need to do, man.
What's up?
I'm just gonna be straight up with you. Like all them dudes that were New England Patriots fans and are now all of a sudden Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans. You just need to trade teams.
Nah, man.
You just need to leave them and start wearing Nets jerseys and whatever team.
No chance, man.
I don't even know where Westbrook's at now.
Westbrook's at the Lakers now.
He's at the Lakers.
Yeah, he got traded like 3 weeks ago.
Oh, that's right. I did see that.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
which is going to be
there
weird.
There you go. Now you're a Lakers fan and you're a Nets fan.
No way. I can't.
East Coast and West Coast.
I would rather never watch basketball again than be either a Lakers fan or a Nets fan, because the Nets are still like not a real team. Like they're still. I don't care if they have Durant and Harden and Kyrie right now. They're still. You can't tell me that you were a Nets fan. I don't think I believe you if you said you've been a Nets fan before the last 2 years, because you're either from Brooklyn or you're just lying, because they now have 3 superstars and a bunch of old dudes who maybe know how to play basketball still. DeAndre Jordan, looking at you, but yeah, they're not good. And no, me and my brother have actually had this conversation. Like, my brother Daniel is a NBA fan, and I don't even know how he does it. Like, he's an NBA fan, and he is exactly that. He like watches some NBA games. He like enjoys the sport. He doesn't have a team, and like maybe you could say he's more of a pure fan of the game than I am, because he can just sit there and watch whatever Wizards versus Pistons, and like that's just gross to even say those two teams playing. But like he just watches them, or he might be a LeBron fan, so he watches some LeBron games. But I'm all in on a franchise. Like I look down on those fans who were like, oh, the team's bad this year, I'm not going to pay attention. Like, no, you're a fan of this team. You need to commit to the team, be with them through the bad times. If you don't go with them with the bad times, then you don't deserve them at their good times. So, yeah, I'm that fan that as bad as it gets for the Thunder, I'll be there. I'm still listening. There's a Thunder podcast. That's one of the questions I was going to ask down here is what podcast you listen to, but definitely the podcast I listen to as faithfully as any other is a Thunder podcast called Down to Dunk that I think it's been around since like 13. I've only listened to it since like 17. But they come out with episodes every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'll listen to them like within a couple hours of them coming out. I actually, they have YouTube streams, and I was sitting around at work. I hope my boss isn't listening at one point at like 4:30, and they were doing a live stream, and so like I got on there and like said, so excited to be here, first time I've ever been in a live stream, and then I like put my name on there and left, and they do this thing where they like go through the stream and talk about like this person's here from Germany and this person's here from this place. They got a person from Antarctica that listens to them. I'm like, that's crazy.
Wow.
But they said my name on the podcast, and they were like, William Hecox, they said my name wrong, from South Carolina, is here. And I was like, dude, I'm on this podcast. How cool is that?
Wow.
So yeah, if you're not a fan that commits to a team, then you're not a real fan. That's my opinion.
That is
Strong
good.
opinion.
I like that. I love that. Well, I'll jump into you said favorite podcast. There's yours. I listen to a couple. Main ones would be, that's not true. I listen to several off and on, but one is called I Say All That to Say This. Really good. My buddy John Andrews does it, and it's just great stuff. Sports, primarily interviewing coaches, and a lot of good life lessons on there. So check that out. And then also I listen to the Jocko podcast. Love that. You know, I was not in the military, but I just have so much respect for those that were. And just so many great life lessons that I learned from that. You know, not only life lessons, but also business lessons that are, transferable from these guys and girls' experiences, in their military efforts. And so, man, love both of those podcasts. So, yeah, definitely. And I'll just say, being such a huge Oklahoma City Thunder fan, which is, I'm proud of you for sticking with them, because I did not. When Grant left the Bulls, then I became also a Orlando Magic fan, because that's where Grant went.
Okay.
And then still kind of a Bulls
Penny
fan.
there at that time.
Penny, Shaq,
Yeah.
Grant, that was pretty fun times. Dennis Anderson, and then so they had some good runs there, and that was fun. And then Yeah, but I did get to meet Michael Jordan.
Really?
One time, which was super
was
cool,
that?
man. It was neat. It was that my father-in-law was working for this company that was a sponsor of the Hornets games, and up in Charlotte, and so he brought in like all their top sponsors, and he was the representative from this company, and he got to bring and one, and so he knew I was a kind of lifelong Jordan fan, so he was like, hey, you want to come with me to this thing tonight at the Hornets game? And I was like, yeah, sure. And he was like, oh, we're gonna get to meet Jordan. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
So it was cool,
That's
man.
cool.
They had this like room set up, and he would just kind of they would just usher you in, and you get to like spend 15 minutes at the King's Court basically, and man, he was super nice and gracious and totally chill, and just like just kind of shot the breeze for about 15 minutes.
Wow.
And it was just a really neat experience. And one thing I remember was, I mean, he was, they're like, oh, he's only 6'6". He was a tall 6'6", and his hands were ginormous.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you hear people talk about how big his hands were.
Yeah.
Dude, they were, for a 6'6" dude, his hands were bigger than the average 6'6" guy.
That's crazy.
So I just remember that when I shook his hand, it was like his hand went up to my elbow, and so, but yeah, it was a cool experience.
Yeah. So what about books? My favorite book is probably 1984, which may tell you something about my political leanings as well. But we won't get into that in this podcast. But it's pretty great. It's if you don't know anything about 1984, it's a dystopian future that kind of talks about like a tyrannical world government, specifically in, I guess, England. And it's a lot of cool life lessons that I think, like, basically about government power overreaching, but I also like just good stories. My wife and I have an Audible membership, and I recently found out that you can get, I guess, like books that are out of copyright now that are so old. They're a bunch of classic books, and I found out, like, I downloaded like 120 books for free because they were all out of copyright. And so I've kind of like started on this probably multi-year journey of I want to listen to all the classics. So I'm listening to Adventures of Tom Sawyer right now. I listen to The Maltese Falcon, Walden by Thoreau. I listened to, what was the first one I listened to? I don't remember what it was. The Scarlet Pimpernel. That was a pretty neat book, and it sounds cool. Apparently that's a flower, the Scarlet Pimpernel, but it's about like the French Revolution and stuff like that. But yeah, it was pretty neat. So yeah, I'm going into. I listened to Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky, which is like the coolest name. I told my wife we need to name a child Fyodor, and she's like, "Yeah, we're never doing that." But I want to listen to War and Peace. It's like 61 hours long, so that'll be fun. But yeah,
61 hours.
Yeah, so
My goodness.
Yeah, books. Give me the books.
That's really awesome, man. And again, mine is Hop on Pop by Dr. Seuss. So again, we can see the intellectual disparity between our hosts here. Right here. No, okay, it's not actually Hop on Pop, but I was trying to think of like the most elementary book that I could say based on what Will was saying. So, fiction book for me, Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. Man, she again kind of talking about political leanings there. Just a neat book, man. I mean, pretty hardcore, but just I just think everybody needs to read it. Just about kind of the benefits of democracy, the benefits of capitalism, and why it's good for our society versus socialism. And so yeah, loved it. Just kind of randomly picked it up. I had to read The Fountainhead for chiropractic college. I still don't know why we had to read that book. It was the same author, Ayn Rand, and but I read that, and then I was like, hey, okay, what else has she written? Because I kind of liked it, and so I read the Atlas Shrugged and liked it a lot more. And so that one, nonfiction book, would be Wild at Heart by John Eldredge. Just love it, man. It's just about like, kind of being a man and what that, men's hopes and dreams and, our inner longings and what drives us to do what we do, and, how we can be better men, how we can follow God better. And so Yeah, those are definitely my two favorite books for sure.
We got to go here, but let's rapid fire through a couple of these. Let's do music. Go for it, Gabe.
Man, I have such an eclectic music taste. I mean, man, my music taste would be, if I had to say one, it'd be eclectic. But I grew up on hip hop and rap, and that's my leanings.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'd say I just jumped through a few. Like you say, eclectic. Like my dad loved like the 60s, 70s hippie music, so that's kind of what I grew up on was that. But then he also loved bluegrass, so I like bluegrass. I got into listening to like Frank Sinatra. Then I like Led Zeppelin. I like some 80s like hair band, like hair metal. And I don't really like much like 90s music, and I don't care for much that's out now other than maybe alternative. But yeah,
dude, we actually this is where we're simpatico right here. It's almost like you looked at my Apple Play like stuff and like what I've recently searched, and you are saying everything.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
So
awesome.
Vacations. I went to Scotland in 2014,
wow. That's cool.
And I went with a friend of mine who was a missionary to China in 2008.
Dude, that's
About
awesome.
you, man?
I would say favorite vacations, like straight up vacations, would be Hawaii or Turks and Caicos. Yeah.
Crazy experience. Probably my craziest experience was bull riding. I rode a bull when I was 15. I think I did it like 3 times, and then I got kicked by the bull and tore my meniscus. So I haven't done that since then.
That is
it was
not
fun.
cool.
It was pretty sweet. I understand why people do it. It's quite an adrenaline rush.
Wow. So I got to go to space one time, and then no, that's not accurate.
With
I just don't have anything.
Yeah,
with Elon Musk. I went on his first flight. I don't have anything to top bull riding, so I had to make up a lie. I don't know.
And the last one we'll hop here is hobbies. I think we both talked about sports. I guess like my hobbies, I like video games, which I guess I'll be 30 in a week and a half here, so maybe you say I'm too old for video games, but I grew up, I guess, with the original Nintendo and then Super Nintendo and PlayStation and everything since then I've played, other than the Wii and GameCube. I thought those were like not cool platforms, but yeah, I play video games when I have time, and I like fountain pens. Like I like writing with fountain pens. I think they're neat. They're expensive, but they're cool.
That's awesome.
What about
like where you dip the ink in the thing and whatever, like that kind of thing?
Yeah, you can still get dip pens, but they have like a little cartridge in them, just similar to a ballpoint pen.
Yeah.
But you can actually get disposable cartridges, or what I use is a cartridge converter that's got a little screw thing on the back. So you dip the cartridge into an inkwell, suck the ink up, and then you put it in the pen, and you can write for, I don't know, 10 pages or whatever, and then the ink runs out, and you can change the color. So pretty neat. Like I say, they're
do you do calligraphy?
No, but it does make my handwriting better than it normally is. If you see my notes from our podcasts, it's pretty scratchy and looks like whatever, like a 10-year-old wrote it, or maybe a 5-year-old. But yeah, you kind of have to be a little more particular and careful. And it's actually pretty neat. This is again a side note, but I'm always looking out for like other people who like fountain pens or use them, and I found out that Chris Kerr, our pastor, uses fountain pens, and Ashton also likes, I guess not fountain pens, but he likes nice ballpoint pens.
Yeah.
So like
Mont Blanc
pens,
or whatever.
Yeah,
That's
like
cool.
yeah, Mont Blanc's a big one. So yeah, I'm a pen weirdo, a history weirdo, a gladiator weirdo.
So
yeah,
okay, Mont Blanc and fountain pen makers. We love some sponsors up on this Joker, so there we go. Or you could start another thing, a podcast just for fountain pens.
For fountain pens. I don't know if there's a fountain pen podcast. Maybe
well,
that'll be a thing.
That's what I'm saying. You should start that because if you get in a niche like that, like there you go, man.
Yeah.
Or you do
I can retire and be a fountain pen podcaster.
I like the sound of that. Hey, they got a store that just sells pens. You know what I'm saying? Like
there's one in Greenville. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So now we start a fountain pen website. Nobody stole this idea. That has different fountain pens, and you got your forum on there, and then now I think that's what you need to think about.
Heck, I'll give them a shout out, and then I can tag them on whatever Facebook. It's True Fae Pens. They're pretty great. The guy in there, Chris, I believe is his name, is cool. He lets you try pens, and if you're interested in fountain pens, check out True Fae in Greenville, South Carolina, and tell them I sent you, even though they're not a sponsor. Maybe he'll give me a cool fountain pen. I appreciate
there you go.
that.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
guys.
awesome.
Thanks for hanging out with us. And yeah, this was fun. We maybe have to do some other episodes like this and just talk about whatever's going on. But yeah, appreciate your time, guys. Gabe, you want to take us out?
Yeah, absolutely. So if I can get our computer working right here, then I'm gonna do that. So again, thank y'all for joining us for this little lighthearted episode, kind of a break from the deep well that we've been in for a while. I want to thank y'all for joining us. Make sure that you follow Lost Boys That Found Fathers on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And you can also check out my book called Thy Will Be Done with the question mark at the end of that. And just search that name and my name, Gabriel O'Sullivan, on Amazon. Thanks again. See you soon.